Happy Friday, everybody! Today is March 7th, and we got some all new free science fiction and fantasy bestsellers to warm me up this weekend. Because every Friday, we here at MetaStellar read the first few chapters of each of the top 5 free fantasy and sci fi books on Amazon. And today's list includes an EMP box set, some sexy wolves, a funny time travel book, and a bit of romance. But before we get to all that, hi everybody, welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV, I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and today Alex KOROLOV, Luciana Aliotto, and E.S. Foster all contributed to the reviews, and Emma is here with us today. Hi Emma, how was your trip?
It was really good. I had a lot of fun and I came home with like my master's degree, so I'm really excited. Put it up on the
So do you
wall.
prefer to be known as master or mistress of the arts?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I think I'd like master just because like that's the degree that I have. But I can't wait to be called doctor in a few years' time since I got into a PhD program. I'm really
All
excited.
right, congratulations. All right, let's get into the books. Um, We're going to start with book number 5 and work our way up to book number 1 on today's list. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it. This is Renegade Refuge by Krys D.W. Wylie, and it's the first of 5 books in the Bringing Home the Chaos, a paranormal romance series. The other books are $4 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited's where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want if you don't mind being part of the Amazon hegemony. But if you don't mind, it's a good deal. This is the author's first time on our Free Friday list, and Emma read this book for us. Emma, what did you think of it?
I thought this story had a really interesting premise, so I was actually really excited to write this review. So it begins with Jo, and she's this young witch. She just accidentally killed someone. More specifically, she's standing in the middle of a building that's kind of like a skyscraper. It's got multiple floors, and it's just been completely destroyed by magic, pretty much. So she's probably actually killed multiple people, but it was a complete accident, and she accidentally killed her mentor, who was also the man who had taken her in because she had lost her family a long time ago. So now that her mentor is dead, Jo doesn't really care what happens to her. She thinks, oh, I made a terrible mistake. I deserve to be punished. So she's just kind of sitting there. And then all of a sudden, a group of military personnel appear and they're like, okay, open up the door in the name of the law. And she's like, yeah, whatever. I don't care anymore. So they break the door down and they find her where she's been hiding this whole time. So she's kind of in shock. She has this deep regret. So she says there's no hope for her. She's very dramatic. She doesn't care what these people want. And then one of them explains that they're actually there to help her. So they want to recruit her for the secret branch of the military, and it's one that deals with supernatural. So in this world, it's like other things, other creatures like witches, vampires, werewolves, they all exist. But the government kind of wants to keep it under wraps, more for like both their protection and also protection from the non-supernatural people. So seeing no other option, Jo agrees. Sometime, I think maybe like a few years later, Jo is giving this lecture to the organization that she's now part of, and she's explaining how not all witches are evil, and that any witch present can be integrated back into society. So the idea of this organization is that the supernatural creatures, like all the ones I just mentioned, not only can they be absolved from their crimes, especially if they didn't mean to commit them, but they can also be integrated into society, being like can still be protected from the outside world, and the outside world can be protected from them because they can, sort of harness their magic, control their urges, that type of thing. So the attendees ask her a few questions. They're asking her how like magic works and things like that. And one guy is really skeptical. He says that he thinks like all witches should be like burned to death, punished with death. And he admits that he's killed several other supernatural beings. So why he's here when it's applied, this is lecture for people who are, supernatural, I have no idea. Because I definitely would admit something like that if I was in a room where people could, like, everyone in the room could likely kill me with magic. I wouldn't admit something like that out loud. So to put the guy in his place, Jo uses magic on him to freeze him, and then she unfreezes him, but then he jumps her. And this is also, again, in the middle of the lecture, which I thought was hilarious. But Joe subdues him using magic and a little dose of sarcasm, so I'm really starting to like her. So I think Joe is a really fascinating character. She's got like this tough exterior with a sarcastic side, and it really makes her headspace engaging. She makes like all these pop culture references and things like that. So I also really like the premise of it. I like how it's moving forward. The pacing is really good, so I think I might continue with this one.
All right. I'm also happen to be reading a book about um, like a witch in a um, like a um, criminal kind of law enforcement situation that
Oh
we're
yeah.
on the team. Um, and I forget what the series is called. I forget who wrote it, but I know that I picked up a box set of like 20 books in this series and I'm like working my way through them. I love witches, like, are like actiony. If I think of what it is, which I can because I can look it up, I'll add it in the comments below. All right, on to the next book that I'm reading, which also has law enforcement in it and magic. It is Blue Moon by Lori Handeland. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys. There we go. This is the first of 11 books in the Night Creature novels, a paranormal romance series. The other books are $4 each and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our list before and is the New York Times best-selling author. People love these books, and I can see why. This book is extremely readable. I had a hard time putting it down, despite the naked guy chest on the cover. So, our protagonist is Jessie. She's a small town cop in northern Wisconsin. She's bored, cranky, hoping something interesting will happen. I like her. She's snarky, she's sarcastic. We both like that. She banters with the dispatcher, and she hates the local woo-woo legends. They really piss her off. There's her and the sheriff and 6 other officers in the town department, but during the summer they hire a bunch more people to handle tourists. It's now the third week of summer, so there's stupid tourists all over the place. And there's a tourist who stopped a luxury SUV in the middle of the road, and Jessie stops and discovers damage to the vehicle and drops of blood on the pavement. She looks around and doesn't see any signs of a wounded animal or a hurt person. So she opens the SUV's door, and there's a woman behind the wheel with a bump in her head and glassy eyes. And the woman says she hit a wolf. And when she left the car to check on it because she thought it was a dog, the wolf bit her. And then one of the summer cops arrives, and Jessie tells him to take the driver to the clinic while she tries to find the wolf. Um, she wants to see if the victim needs rabies shots, for example. And the other cop is a little hesitant to leave Jessie alone to look for the wolf in the woods, but she's lived here all her life. She's the best hunter on the force. She shuts the guy down and heads into the forest. Again, I like her a lot. She's confident, smart, capable, and she's got no interest in romance, which I also like in a protagonist. Although I don't know how long that attitude's gonna last, given the picture on the cover. Anyway, so she follows the blood trail through the woods and it disappears by a log cabin. And there's a naked guy at the log cabin, and he's hot. And so she asks him if he saw a wolf running past, and he tells her very cryptically that she's not going to find the wolf. And he's right. She's lost the wolf, and she eventually goes back to her car. The SUV's already been towed away. And she follows up. She discovers that the woman driver, the one who was bitten, has left the hospital after refusing to get the rabies shots. So Jessie decides to track the woman down. Turns out she's not a tourist after all, but a teacher at a local school. And so Jessie goes to the school and everyone is panicking. She thinks it's an active shooter situation. She grabs her gun, goes inside. She doesn't hear any gunshots, but she does hear crying and finds the woman driver from the previous night holding a little boy up in the air. And the woman also has pink foam coming out of her mouth. And there's someone else on the floor nearby, an adult man, not moving. blood all around, and it looks like she's about to kill the little kid. Jessie tells the woman to put the little boy down, and instead she makes a move like she's gonna bite the kid's throat. So Jessie shoots her in the head. No, wait, it wasn't Jessie who fired the gun. It was the sheriff who came up right behind her. So I love the beginning of this book. I like Jessie. I like the dispatcher. I like the way she handles everything that comes at her. She reminds me a bit of Anita Blake in the Lauren Hamilton's Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series before Anita gets too busy with all her boyfriends. Back when she was like still hunting vampires. So I like it very much. After I filed this article, because I had a little bit of time while I was taking my lunch break, I went back to this book and kept reading. I got about a quarter of the way through the book before it hit a really hot sex scene. And I'm old, I'm easily embarrassed. I felt like I was eavesdropping on people, like a peeping Tom, and I stopped reading. But if you're not easily embarrassed by reading about somebody else's very, very hot sex scene, then this book has everything. It's got action, it's got werewolves, it's got small town cops. I really liked it, except for that the steamy hot sex part. All right, on to the next book. God, I feel so old and cranky. Anyway, the next book is Chosen by Samantha Britt, the first of 3 books in the Curse of the Dragon, a romantasy series by a USA Today bestselling author. The other books are $5 and $6 each, but they're both in Kindle Unlimited, and the author has been on our Free Friday list before. And this is a dragon shifter fantasy romance, according to the subtitle. And I like dragons, I like fantasy. I don't like the shifter romance part of it that much. So again, you're going to have to take this review with a grain of salt. So the book is set in a fantasy kingdom that has flying, fire-breathing dragons in it. And our protagonist, Lisa, is a little bit wary of the dragons. And when the book opens, she's standing as still as possible so that the dragon flying overhead doesn't see her. It doesn't, and she continues on her way to the house of a friend whose sister has a dislocated arm. And Lisa has some medical skills, and she sets the arm. So, and we get some background on the kingdom. This is the poorest region in the kingdom. Lisa's parents moved there when she was 5, then abandoned her and her 2 siblings to a guardian. Lisa's now 18, and she's already the best known healer in the region, although she's getting a little bored with the repetitive nature of her work. Meanwhile, a population census is coming up. And here agents scour the kingdom, and if they find someone they like, they take them back to the capital to serve the dragons, who are the rulers in this kingdom. And her older brother deliberately gave himself a scar so he wouldn't be chosen and could continue to provide for the family because the dragons prefer pretty perfect people. And the brother suspects that Lisa hasn't been chosen because she's a healer and valuable where she is. And they also have a younger sister, and they're worried about her because this is the first year that she's old enough for the census. And they're trying hard to find her a job. And if they fail, the sister can be taken away, never to return, to spend her life as a servant, or worse, as a concubine to the dragons. Meanwhile, the local lord's son, who's part dragon himself, takes a particular interest in Lisa. And when she explains about trying to save her sister, he tells her to keep her sister inside during the week of the census when the agents are around. And meanwhile, there's rumors of a human rebellion against the dragon rulers of the kingdom. And the book moves slowly. I was 8 chapters in when I stopped reading, and I've learned a lot about life in the village and the kingdom and the people in Lisa's life. But I haven't seen what the plot is yet. It hasn't really started, other than the hints about the rebellion. Will she be taken by the census? Will her sister be taken? Will she join the rebels? I don't know. It's too early to tell. It is an easy read, and I can see why the author is a best-selling author. But it is moving a little bit too slow for my taste. All right, on to book number 2 on today's list. Something completely different, After the Flash, by Colton Lively, Roger Hayden, J.S. Donovan, and Clay Wise. It's a box set of 4 standalone EMP books. And all 4 books are part of the EMP Survival in a Powerless World series, which has 97 books, all of which are Kindle Unlimited. And like a couple of dozen of those books have already been on our Free Friday list. People love these books. And 3 of the authors have been on our Free Friday list before. Alex read this for us because Alex reads most of our EMP books because he likes EMP books. And so, Emma, what did he think about this book?
So he had some thoughts on it. I think I'll start off by saying that with EMP, it's about this situation where an electromagnetic pulse wipes out all electronic devices, so it affects cell phones, computers, power grids, modern vehicles. So we've seen a lot of these stories before on Free Friday, so it'd be interesting to see what this one's about. And it starts off with 16-year-old Jenny and her older sister Becky. They live in this apartment in Manhattan, and Becky is Jenny's guardian because their father died recently. So Jenny is upset because she wants to go to a party with her friends. Becky won't let her. She's the more responsible one. And Alex actually says that most of the chapter deals with their backstory, and he says that's fine, but he doesn't think it's very exciting, so he decided to move on. He goes to the next chapter, and here Becky, she's heading over to a friend's house, and we find out that Becky is actually a bounty hunter, and the friend lets Becky keep her guns at her place so Jenny doesn't actually like accidentally find them and like get into them, that sort of thing. So there's some more backstory about their friendship. The two friends talk about Jenny for a little bit, and Becky asks her friend to watch Jenny while she goes and catches a bounty. So then the next couple chapters mostly deal with Becky and her being a bounty hunter. And then Becky finds out that Jenny snuck out to go to that party. So things are starting to heat up. But at this point, there hasn't really been an EMP story yet. So it either starts with like a crazy post-apocalyptic action, which is something that Alex prefers, or they take a long time to get to the point, which he says is like this one. So some people like well fleshed out characters and a lot of backstory, but Alex says that when it comes to EMP books, he really wants more action. So he's not going to read any further since it's too slow of pace. But it does sound really interesting, given that there's a lot of character development involved. So like, I thought it was interesting.
All right. Okay, so before we go on to book number 1 on today's list, I want to thank our Patreon supporters because we publish free science fiction and fantasy short stories on our website every week. There were several that went up this week, and we pay 8 cents a word for stories, and we are able to pay for stories thanks to our Patreon contributors and people who join the channel. All of us are volunteers, including Emma and me, and all the money raised goes to pay authors for original fiction. We are currently in the middle of our spring submission cycle. It goes from March 1st to March 31st. And we've already had close to 200 stories submitted, so pretty exciting. We do not accept AI-generated stories. We just changed our policy because AI has gotten really, really good. It's not just an assistant anymore. It can actually replace a human writer. And we want to connect human writers with human readers, not bots to bots, right? So that's kind of the goal of our magazine. So if you like our mission, if you like supporting new and emerging writers, please support our Patreon. You can also buy our mugs. There's a MetaStellar mug, and we've got notebooks, and we have 3 anthologies that we've done, and we're working on our 4th one right now. Emma is actually in charge of our anthology this year, and she's in the process of getting that edited with our giant team of volunteer editors. We've also finished serializing Gods and Monsters by E.E. King, which was a featured novel of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association, and it is awesome. The links to the anthologies and to the book are in the description box below. So that's awesome. We're also serializing another novel, and we've already posted 3 installments of it, and all 3 of them are also on our YouTube channel. The author is reading the book, and the book is RENNA'S Crossing by Geordie Morse. and it's an awesome book. And so I'm going to post a link to that at the end of this. At the end of the reviews, I'll put it up on the screen. And also, before I forget, Emma is a book editor and coach. So if you want some help and you like Emma's vibe, you can contact her. The link is in the description box below. And I have books up on Amazon, including this one that which I haven't, I need to post. But these three are already up. And book number 1 in the series, Crim Times, was on the humorous science fiction bestseller list today. It was book number 5, and the other 2 books a little further down on the same list. And it was also on the bestseller list for science fiction mysteries. So, woohoo! I'm very excited about that. And the books are free today. So you can pick them up for free as well. And if you leave a review, oh my God, I would super appreciate it. And now let's go on to book number 1 on today's list. It is a time travel book. Scharlette Doesn't Matter and Goes Time Traveling by Sam Bowring. And it's the first of 3 books in the Scharlette Day, a humorous science fiction series. The other 2 books are $5 each, but they're both in Kindle Unlimited. And the author has been on our Free Friday list before. Luciana Alioto, one of our newest community members, read the beginning of this book for us. And Emma, what did Luciana think of the book?
So she starts out, she says that she only got to read a few chapters, but she is lured to finish the rest of the book because it's got a quirky, snappy, like funny writing style. So she actually really enjoyed it. So it starts off with protagonist Scharlette. She has the pretty unusual name, but it suits her personality, and it kind of gives us a starting look on like what this character is like, but also the interesting writing style. So we meet Scharlette on the 10th anniversary of the death of her sister. However, despite the internal turmoil she has in like this her life, she deals with a lot, but she also might be dealing with something that's a lot stranger. So very strange things start to happen. She receives this book. She doesn't know who sent it. All of a sudden, the book seems to be the book seems to be like written for her in some way, and she's kind of weirded out by it. All of a sudden, it starts narrating her breakfast events, and it becomes this weird emotional roller coaster. So, of course, Scharlette is just like, this is probably all just a big coincidence, which is personally not how I would have reacted, but that's okay. So she heads off to the airport. She works there as a security clerk, and once again, everything is normal. It seems totally fine, just like any other day. And then one of the people coming through security seems to set up the metal detector. So apparently, this man is asked to remove any metal possession on his person, like you do, and places the belongings in the tray, but this includes a very curious watch-looking thing. Not really sure what it is, but the man complies despite protesting at first a little bit, and all of a sudden, once the metal band is removed, wormholes start appearing around the airport and they shoot lasers everywhere. So this is not Scharlette's typical workday. And she says that she really liked this premise. She said the plot was so seamlessly set up and delivered this mind-boggling twist. She said it was truly exceptional. So she kept going. She said that Scharlette proceeds to do what most main characters do, and she decides to wear the metal band because, why not? So this will lead to further spiraling of the plot, and she seems to start gaining consciousness of 2 different temporal planes. So Luciana says that she can't wait to read the end of this book. She said the author probably has plenty of twists prepared, and she's just really excited that she was able to read just that little bit because she can't wait to read the rest of it.
All right. And I love it kind of gave me some Hitchhiker's vibes here.
Yeah,
Do you get that sense? Yeah.
I love that book. I just finished reading it. So good.
The Hitchhikers or this book?
The Hitchhikers, yeah.
Oh. All right. So I'm going to go into the comments after this and add in the name of the series about the witch cop that I've been reading. And I'm going to put up some pictures up above us of the serialization that we're doing now. So thanks, Emma, for joining me. And Everybody else, please be back here next Friday because we do this every Friday. If you don't want to miss any of these reviews, you can subscribe to the channel. And we also have a newsletter. You can subscribe to the newsletter as well. And with the newsletter, you get not only our free Friday reviews, but also all the short stories that we published that week, plus the serialization, plus writing advice from editor Fallon Clark. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.